Hello everyone, today, I will recap the movie Ghostbusters Part 2, Frozen Empire. Do you see this guy? He is the successor of the legendary fire god, but he has to fight the evil god Garaka himself, who has the ability to freeze the world. However, his fighting style is quite awkward. Can he fight this evil ice god? Let's join me and recap the movie today. The film begins with Phoebe's ghost hunting family, a ghost hunting team famous for their extremely effective ghost hunting abilities. Currently, the team is chasing a dragon monster that is running away on the streets. Their car looks old, but it is actually equipped with modern and powerful technology. The monsters they encounter can only run away in panic. Phoebe opens the car door and reaches out, holding a specially made gun that can shoot photon rays, a powerful energy that can suppress demons. Despite being shot, the ghost dragon continued to fight back fiercely. Fortunately, the driver swerved and dodged, allowing them to catch up with the dragon. However, several buildings along the way were damaged. Trevor also wanted to prove his ability, so he released a toy car to chase the monster. After locking on the target, Trevor pressed the photon net button to capture the ghost dragon, but it evaded by flying straight into the sky. Now it was Phoebe's mother's turn. She put on her virtual reality goggles and piloted the drone to chase the ghost dragon. Just as she threw the net to catch the dragon, timing it right to suck the ghost dragon into the net, Uncle Callie, who was driving, got so excited about catching ghosts that he lost focus. As a result, Phoebe almost crashed into other cars on the road. Although Uncle Callie tried to avoid it, the car crashed into a row of bicycles parked on the side of the road. Everyone in the family was safe, but the bicycles were not so lucky. In reality, the successes in catching ghosts were few, while the failures were many. In the end, the mayor criticized the Phoebe family for these incidents. He also complained that Phoebe's, who was only 15 years old, spent all day ghost hunting instead of focusing on her studies. He believed she was too young to take on such responsibility, and banned her from participating in ghost hunting with her family. The mayor actually disliked this ghost hunting team, because they caused more damage to the city than they succeeded in capturing ghosts. Feeling sad, Phoebe went to see his old friend Podcast, who was now working as Mr. Ray's assistant. Podcast had been a member of the ghost hunting team 10 years ago, but was more famous for his handsome appearance. At Podcast's office, Phoebe encountered the dough monsters. Although they looked cute, they were actually very mischievous and troublesome. Meanwhile, in a cellar filled with ghosts, Gary was making the final preparations to seal the dragon into a tank. Suddenly, the cabinet next to him shook violently, prompting Phoebe's mother to rush over and help pull the lever down. After a long struggle, they succeeded, and the light on the cabinet lit up green. At Uncle Ray's shop, which specializes in buying haunted objects, there was a long line of people waiting to sell haunted items that had been passed down through 3 generations in their families. An old woman said that after her husband died, she tried to put his soul into a watch. Ray measured it, but there was no spirit. So the disciple next to him hit the hammer, causing the watch to shatter. The people nearby were frightened. At that time, they were cleaning up to close the shop. Suddenly, a young man brought in a box, saying that it was a family heirloom. Inside the box was an exquisitely carved bronze ball. As soon as he picked it up, Mr. Ray immediately sensed that this was not an ordinary object. He mentioned that ancient bronze objects were often made to contain evil forces. After saying that, he took out his supernatural energy meter, but as soon as he turned it on, the energy from the sphere destroyed the device. Too surprised by the mysterious sphere, Mr. Ray was willing to pay double the amount the young man had asked for. What was even more terrifying was that the energy seemed to want to destroy the cover containing Phoebe's family's souls. While observing the sphere, Mr. Ray began to recall an incident that happened in 1904 in New York. At a club of tycoons, the firefighters suddenly discovered a door emitting a mysterious cold air. Although they felt worried, they still decided to break the door to get inside. They were horrified to find that all the nobles around them had been frozen and were lifeless. Sharp ice pillars appeared everywhere, making it easy to get injured if one wasn't careful. Only a woman in bronze armor remained safe, holding a ball with mysterious symbols in her hand. Suddenly, she opened her eyes, and immediately the ice blocks began to shatter. A cold gaze radiated from within the ball. Back to the present, Phoebe was sitting alone in the park, playing chess. Unexpectedly, the chess pieces moved automatically. Although she was a little surprised, she continued playing, as long as there was someone to play with. Not long after, a female ghost appeared, a female ghost named Emily. Emily explained that she and her family died in a fire, and she was still stuck in this world, unable to continue. Emily was also a chess grandmaster, so Phoebe could not compete with her. The next morning, Gary discovered that the wall surrounding the cellar had been destroyed. The cabinet was also malfunctioning, so he called a technician to fix it. While the technician was checking the equipment, Gary stood next to him, talking incessantly. A sudden shrill sound came from inside, indicating that the sealed souls were trying to escape. Panicked, they reviewed the blueprint of the cellar, and realized that the cabinet was almost full after 40 years of operation. At the most tense moment, Mr. James appeared and revealed that he had been secretly running a paranormal research center all this time. He then took his family to visit the facility. Here, the technician introduced the technology used to separate souls from haunted objects through a photon centrifuge. The monster that had just been separated was immediately transferred to a detention facility. They discovered that this place had a system of cabinets to hold monsters, allowing them to manage the creatures without any worries. Although this monster seemed cute, it was actually very dangerous. There was a red light that could steal things quickly. Phoebe loved these modern technologies, so she explored the center on her own. While the 3 team members went on a mission, Phoebe sat bored, watching their car leave. At that moment, her phone rang. A customer asked the ghost hunting team for help. She happily prepared her tools and set off with Podcast to destroy the evil. When she arrived, she realized that the ghost they were facing was Emily. While she was surprised, Podcast urged her to catch the ghost. She fired a photon. Not only did she not catch the ghost but also broke the glass window of house. Mr. Ray sent the brass ball to the research center. When the female technician placed it in the soul separation machine and pressed the start button, the ball suddenly shook violently. It seemed that an entity was trying to escape. At that moment, the power system of the center was abruptly cut off. When the photon wall was disabled, a cunning ghost escaped from prison. Worried about the danger posed by the entity in the ball, the technician hurriedly pulled the ball out of the cage, but unexpectedly, his hand was frozen. Panicking, he threw the object on the ground. Just then, Phoebe had just returned to put away her things when Emily suddenly appeared at the window. The two chatted intimately. Phoebe gradually felt closer to Emily and took her to visit the cellar containing imprisoned souls. A while later, the whole family returned, and Emily hurriedly left. Meanwhile, at the research center, the power has been restored. However, that short period of time is enough for the orb to radiate dark energy. It contacts Emily and whispers something, before continuing its search for the ghost-filled cellar in Phoebe's house. The next morning, Trevor goes upstairs to check the attic for leaks and finds a hungry ghost there. The ghost walks past him, leaving a dirty mess behind. Furious, Trevor decides to get revenge and leaves some food to lure the ghost out so he can catch it. However, this ghost was smarter than he had anticipated. At a crucial moment, when the house shook, the ghost seized the opportunity to escape. When everyone went down to the basement to investigate, they found signs of freezing in the storage cabinet, and the surrounding wall was damaged. At the same time, at the research center, everyone observed that the sphere was strongly interacting with the ghosts, raising suspicions that a powerful dark force was sealed inside. They decided to question the young man who sold the sphere to learn about its origin. Janine didn't hide anything and led them to his family's secret room. In that room, everything was brass-colored, including the ancient bronze armor. This proved that Mrs. Janine was the woman in the mysterious frozen room from 1904. Furthermore, a pair of strange horns hung on the wall, indicating that they had a special origin. They then decided to bring Janine back to the research center for further investigation. During the interrogation, the professor repeatedly threw a pen at Janine's head. The professor continued to throw his pen without realizing that a fire had suddenly erupted on the gas stove. Strangely, Janine's mood seemed to affect the intensity of the fire. Meanwhile, Mr. Ray and Phoebe went to see an expert to clarify an important mystery. They wanted to know what was hidden inside the brass ball. When he saw it, the expert's expression immediately changed, and he pulled out an ancient scripture that recorded a story from thousands of years ago. It turns out that this sphere is a magical prison, where the evil god Garaka is imprisoned. 4,000 years ago, Garaka single-handedly built an army of monsters to attack humans. Because he was betrayed by a king in Central Asia, who cut off his powerful horns, causing him to take this grudge to heart. When the war was turning in the monster's favor, a council of fire mages combined their powers to control and use this sphere to seal Garaka. The expert took out the tape, which contained the spell to unseal the seal. Unexpectedly, a ghost took it. It escaped into a trash bag and left. The group chased after it but couldn't catch up, and Ray was scared by the ghost and fell. When they ran outside, they found that the ghost had disappeared, and Ray realized that it had entered the stone lion statue. The statue suddenly roared, jumped to the ground, and attacked Ray. At the crucial moment, Phoebe managed to activate the photon gun in the car. However, the gun jammed after the first shot. When the lion jumped up to attack again, Phoebe shot it, but the police car was severely damaged as a result. The ghost had a chance to escape, and the mayor had a chance to reprimand Phoebe's family. The relationship between Phoebe and her family became increasingly tense, as she felt that no one understood her feelings. Phoebe told the story to everyone. Janine went to see the frozen soul cabinet, and felt the strange power of ice. At that moment, Ray appeared and revealed that Janine's great-grandmother was a fire mage, whose duty was to protect the bronze sphere that sealed the evil god Garaka. He believed that Janine was a descendant of the fire mage. Janine was surprised and said that he was just an ordinary person. How could he have the ability? However, Ray advised him to try. He would know right away. When Janine raised her right hand to try, surprisingly, the flame turned to the right. And the flame went in the direction he adjusted. That night, Phoebe decides to go find Emily. Suddenly, Phoebe has a strange idea. She wants to experience the feeling of becoming a ghost with Emily once. After that, Phoebe takes Emily to the research center to install the soul separation machine. Exactly 2 minutes later, the girl stepped inside, started the machine, and her soul immediately separated from her body. She was very happy that she could finally become a ghost. However, Emily's expression began to show that something was wrong. She suddenly apologized, and at that moment, Phoebe's eyes suddenly lit up. It turned out that Emily had deliberately tricked Phoebe into separating her soul. Because the evil god Garaka needed her soul to take over the human voice, thereby breaking the seal of the orb. Emily made a deal with Garaka, hoping that he would help her move on and reunite with her family. Garaka ordered Phoebe to chant a spell to break the seal, and in a flash, the orb shattered, releasing the evil god. When the 2 minutes were up, Phoebe was back in her body. At that moment, the female technician used a photon gun to attack, but the target was not injured. Garaka blew out a cold air, breaking the photon layer. Then he disappeared, while the girl's hand was injured by the cold. The ghost hunters arrived in time to help. Gary and Phoebe's mother comforted her. Now they were about to face the legendary evil god. Garaka was in a tobacco shop. Without hesitation, he froze the man and attacked to release his pent-up anger. Then, he flew to the secret room of Grandma Janine. What he wanted was the powerful horns. As soon as he attached the horns to his head, he regained all his strength, with his eyes glowing an icy blue. Meanwhile, everyone else was still unaware, continuing to live happily, joking around as if nothing had happened. They had no idea that this was the calm before the coming storm. Soon after, the sky over New York suddenly darkened with black clouds. Out at sea, huge waves rolled in, causing people to flee in panic. In the city, a cold storm swept through, causing a series of ice spears to emerge from the ground. The entire city of New York was now engulfed in fear. Garaka's goal was to unlock the Soul Vault and release all the monsters to form a powerful army ready to attack humanity. At the monster hunting team's base, everyone brought Phoebe back. They were worried about how to deal with Garaka. At that moment, Janine sat there like a savior. Although he seemed to possess great power, in reality, he could only light a candle. This was not enough to solve the problem, so everyone had to put their hope on technological weapons. They knew that the photon gun was ineffective against Garaka, so Phoebe remembered a copper sphere that could seal him. She hoped that mixing copper metal with photon could overcome the Garaka. So she gathered all the available copper objects, melted them down, and dipped the barrel of the photon into a copper pan to enhance its power. Meanwhile, the Janine and the Cathan continued to practice diligently, unaware of whether he would achieve anything. At the most tense moment, the veteran ghost hunters returned to assist. In an emergency like this, their presence was invaluable, but since they had retired, they were no longer as skilled as before. A monster controlling objects caused them trouble, when it entered a car and rushed straight toward them, causing the elders to panic and flee. Then, the monster switched to controlling a photon gun, aiming it directly at the Trevor. Although he thought he couldn't escape this dangerous situation, thanks to the Janine, the photon wave was stopped just in time. Podcast smashes the machine, the monster jumps into a pizza, was about to run away, but was eaten by the greedy green monster. Meanwhile, in the basement, Phoebe confronts Emily. Emily is showing remorse for her actions. At the same time, Garaka has arrived in front of the ghost hunting headquarters. He walks slowly, and everything he passes by turns to ice under his power. In the face of a powerful enemy, everyone did not retreat. The basement began to crack, causing the area they were standing in to shake violently. They were determined to join forces to shoot photons. Garaka quickly froze the entire photon team, causing everyone to fall into despair. At that moment, Janine, wearing bronze armor, began to appear. Janine walked towards Garaka. It was unclear how much practice he had, but he confidently lit a lighter. Unfortunately, he chose a lighter that was out of gas. He tried to light it, but it didn't produce any flame. The group looked at him helplessly. He didn't look like a fire god at all. Garaka took the lighter, froze it, and blew it into the wind. Garaka grew impatient, spewing out a cold blast that froze the entire group. Then, he slowly approached the soul cabinet. He gathered his strength, creating a rift for the resentful souls to escape. A pillar of light rose into the blue sky, and the evil souls began to roam the city. Our heroine is Phoebe. At this point, she appears, holding a super photon gun, and shoots Garaka. This is actually effective, as the copper mix photon makes Garaka feel pain. However, that is not enough. Garaka unleashes her power, causing the photon engine and Phoebe to freeze. The war seemed to be over for humanity, and Garaka planned to rule the world. Suddenly, Emily appeared holding a burning match, and the small flame from her match was sucked away by Janine. This time, Janine dealt the final blow to Garaka, and the power was enough to break the ice seal. Phoebe's group immediately reactivated the photon gun, one side attacking with fire, and the other side attacking with copper photons. Garaka was locked on both sides. Realizing that human power could not last long, Phoebe's entire family came together to support her. Some people rushed to reactivate the soul cabinet, hoping that it could seal Garaka. Unfortunately, the lever was frozen solid, making it difficult to push down. Feeling the threat to his life, Garaka struggled to break free from the bondage. Finally, the containment cabinet was activated, and a giant photon net appeared, sucking the Garaka into the seal. The indicator light turned green, signaling humanity's victory. After the storm, the sky brightened again, the evil god disappeared, and the city returned to normal. The ghost hunters were warmly welcomed by the city. Everyone was grateful to those who sacrificed and fought monsters to protect the city. The old mayor also changed his attitude and no longer hated the ghost hunters. At this time, a greedy ghost and a dragon flew overhead. The ghost hunters were still happy, but did not forget their mission. They immediately took the car to capture those ghosts. The movie ended here. Thank you for supporting. If you find the content interesting, please give me a like and leave a comment about this movie. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the latest movie recap. See you again.